inside a this kind of like void.
Not just the moon, the super moon.
Welcome to Supermoon's Top 10 Lessons, the place for you to get inspiration and motivation in the crypto and blockchain space. Here's your top 10 lessons from Beeple. Number 1, follow what you're passionate about.
Let's explain what you do. You're a digital artist who sells NFTs of your artwork. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I've been making digital art for the last like 20 years and sort of growing in sort of popularity over that time, but there was no way to sort of collect my work without the like NFT part of it. And so then this technology came along, NFTs, that allows sort of like ownership over something virtual. And that allowed people to actually collect what I do, similar to a painting or a sculpture or any other sort of like artist.
Mike Winkelmann, otherwise known as Beeple, had a passion for creating digital art. Instead of just pushing it aside, he embraced his passion and became one of the highest paid, best-selling artists of our time. Number 2, be consistent.
And then this collage, I guess you call it?
Yeah.
Called Every Days. You started doing it 14 years ago. You drew it, you painted every single day.
I do a picture every single day. It started in 2007, and it's done start to finish that day.
But no
they're
goal.
mostly done. No, they're done on the computer, most of them.
Yeah.
Some of them were drawn in the very, very beginning, but almost all of them are done in the computer each day.
Mike created art every single day for 14 years. That's longer than most people in the NFT space have been creating, well, anything. Number 3. Do it anyway.
It's actually the day my daughter was born, and I had to do it very quickly before we went to the hospital, which doesn't sound great, but it was like 2 minutes, so yeah.
Number 4, play the long game.
Great for artists, but
Sure.
What was the largest amount of money you sold a piece of work for?
$100, because it's sort of like I wasn't trying to sell work like that, and sort of like people, you could sell prints, but it just generally people didn't do it that much. They weren't as excited about it.
Mike started selling his art for $100. Instead of focusing on the money, he focused on creating and sharing his work. This allowed him to build a large portfolio and land great deals with brands. Now, he sold a piece of art for $69 million and has had the chance to share his art with even more people. Number 5, value your art. In order to sell a piece for $69 million, Mike, or as we know him, Beeple, needed to learn to value his work and call himself an artist. You might be surprised to know he didn't always think of himself that way. Here's a clip of his friend Chris Do talking about his mindset at the time. Valuing your art is a process, one that can be learned.
But I did a YouTube episode with Beeple when he was in town. This is $69.3 million Beeple. What? And we're arguing. We're arguing about value and work. And I said, man, you're an artist. And he goes, I'm not an artist. I just make crap. I'm like, oh, man. And so we get in this whole conversation. I'm going to just tell you the story. This is just Mike Winkelmann hanging out, kind of nerdy CG guy doing his thing, right? With his nerdy friends who follow him and building up a nice following. And he was telling me about doing a deal with Louis Vuitton, licensing, I think, 13 images. So he had to rework them to make them really high resolution. It included video art with it, unlimited, royalty-free in perpetuity in the world forever. And we started talking about like how much he got for each image. And the number I said was more for one image than what he got paid for all the images. And I said, why are you doing this? And he said, man, it's LV, man. That's worth something to me. I'm like, okay, but it's worth a lot to them too.
Number 6, say yes to collaboration. Many artists and musicians collaborate as a new way to make great art. Beeple has made art with Louis Vuitton, Madonna, Apple, and Nike. Number 7, be yourself. Mike seems to have no problem being himself, even cursing in videos.
You're at 25,250,000. Crazy, man.
Jesus Christ, what the
Being yourself when you're creative pays off because your art will be unique, and that's what makes all the difference. You can't stand out and make a name for yourself if you're the same as everyone else. Number 8, Post your art.
It's painting these digital paintings every single day since 2007.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, they had brought in a bunch of work. Like, I've done, concert visuals, and I was sort of, growing a following and getting better and better sort of freelance work from these pictures. And
They're gorgeous, amazing.
I appreciate that.
Perhaps a little underestimated at this point, one of the biggest things Mike did was actually share his art with the world. Too many people create something and then keep it to themselves. People need to see your work in order to love it. Number 9, create what you love.
Astronaut just continuously walking.
Yeah, it's like
not
a
necessarily in
giant
space.
metal box that has like a bunch of screens on it, and it's slowly rotating, and it kind of like creates this illusion
We have a
that it's
video,
sort
I
of
think,
like
footage of what this-
inside this kind of like void. So
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
a metal,
And you
it's a
could-
giant like refrigerator-sized box that just keeps turning, and the environment will continue to change. And I think that's what's exciting about this piece, and I think is more analogous to sort of the future of art, is that we'll have pieces in our house that continue to change, and sort of it's not just like a static painting that just, that's it, it is what it is. I think we're gonna have more things like this.
A lot of artists might feel pressure to conform to the market and start to make art that people will approve of and that they know people will like. Mike continues to create art that he enjoys. Many of his everydays are sci-fi and futuristic. This is what led to Louis Vuitton putting his art on their clothing. Number 10. Don't be afraid to try something new.
It was about a year ago, and so my fans kept coming up to me and being like, you should check this out. You really should check this out. And at first I was like, well, I don't get this. And then finally I did, and then it was like, yeah, no, this is gonna be big.
I just
think
bought
this is
my-
gonna be big.
Much of Mike's success came from using NFT technology to verify ownership of his art. If he had shied away from this new technology, he may not have sold his art for millions. The future is always going to have new advancements. Don't be afraid to learn something new and try to think of where things are headed a few years from now. Hopefully you enjoyed Beeple's 10 lessons. Follow Supermoon Camp for more crypto news, market updates, and inspiration. As a bonus for making it to the end, here's a clip of Beeple selling a piece for $69 million.
Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Oh my God! 50 million! What? Oh my God!
69 million?
I think it probably means digital art is here to stay.